Great Minnesota Get-Together. Seats available. People are accepting the fact that we have no shade. Well, actually, there are some taking advantage of the shade in the corners, which is a very smart move. But we hope you come to see us today. Johnny Athletic will join at 3:55, and Tim Cheetah in the 5 o'clock hour as well. You know, Bell Bank is the presenting sponsor of KFAN at the fair. We thank them for all their participation and their support. And our next guest is a Bell Bank champion. Tyus Jones, as part of his partnership, Bell Bank is a sponsor of your AAU boys basketball program. First of all, how about a round of applause for Tyus Jones? And thank you for hanging with us, man. We appreciate that very much.
Appreciate you guys having me.
It's very good to have you. We'll talk a little bit about that program in a minute and what it means to you and what's involved there and what has evolved over a period of time. So congratulations also on signing the new deal. I know there were people in this town who were hoping somehow, some way, there might be room to bring you back here. Are you past the point where you worry about that? I mean, you've obviously established yourself an identity there. And are you invested enough there where it's not constantly that you're hankering to get back here? Where are you on that whole deal?
I'm just trying to stay in the moment, honestly. Trying to take it year by year. Obviously renewing my deal with Memphis. I'm extremely excited. Love it down there. So, yeah, just trying not to look too far ahead, trying to stay in the moment. And, you know, that's been working for me so far.
Did you get – I don't remember you getting booed here for the Grizzlies series, but somebody said that you were – maybe when you were announced a couple of times. Did you get it? Were there any boos?
There were.
There were some boos.
Yeah, in the playoffs. In the playoffs, there were. Regular season, it wasn't any boos. Playoffs, yeah, heard a few boos. Was a little surprised by it, but, you know, I understood a little
Well, here's what's interesting about that. I go back far enough that this market is weird on booing. For example, as I remember it, I think Gary Gaetti got traded away or either cut or traded, a former Twins third baseman, played on the 87 World Series team. And when he came back here, he got booed. And I'm like, what did he do?
Right,
I mean, he didn't have any control of the fact that he wasn't here anymore. You didn't have a lot of control. You had a great opportunity elsewhere, right? And you took advantage of it. So maybe it's just habit. People are saying, well, you're on the rival team now, and you're trying to take something away from us. So you didn't take it personally?
No, I did not. Not at all. Not at all.
The Grizzlies, like you said, you got a nice ball club. You got it looks like a really nice thing going there, and I think fans in this town are hoping that it can become a rivalry. You know, that the Wolves are ascending. They got a ways to go, I think, to even get to the spot that you guys are in. But that's the hope, is it? That it could develop into a nice little rivalry. I assume you wouldn't mind that.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't. And, I mean, playoffs are where rivalries begin. So, you know, last year's playoff series obviously was a great one. And then we look forward to the battles, you know, coming, you know, in this year coming up.
What do you, if somebody had not watched your team play, in terms of seeing that ascension and where you guys are, what do you think stands out to you as why your team is an ascending team? Had such an outstanding regular season, and then into the playoffs as well. What do you guys do well?
I think we just play together. We have a lot of fun. You know, we just have a great group that gets along extremely well, both on and off the court, and we just enjoy. You know, we enjoy playing basketball together, and each year we just try to improve. You know, and each year since I've been there, that's been the goal, is to improve upon the last year, and that's what we've done. So we're going to continue to try to do that 1 year at a time.
It's a really fun team to watch, and what stands out to me is everybody talks the cliches about sharing the ball and not really caring, but to me it comes off that you guys have that. You know, that the ball moves when it needs to. Nobody seems to care who on a given night is getting the points, and you got a number of players who on a given night could end up scoring very effectively. Why is that? Why are you guys so adept at sharing, so generous with each other?
It starts at the top. It starts with, you know, our coaching staff, just kind of stressing unselfish basketball. And then we just got an unselfish group. Everyone wants to see the guy next to them succeed. Nobody cares. Nobody has egos. And at the end of the day, when everyone doesn't have an ego and you're winning basketball games, it makes it that much easier to continue playing like that. You know what I mean? So that's just what we're going to continue to focus, continue to, you know, brand ourselves with is that you know, unselfish style of basketball, and it's been doing, it's been getting the job done so far.
Tyus Jones is our guest. A little wind picking up a little bit here at the Great Minnesota Get-Together, as I said, on a beautiful afternoon. It's no secret that one of the frustrating parts looking back for the Wolves was a belief they had that, well, we got these guys. This is a series that we can win. But what tended to happen in several games is, as you know too well, the Wolves had double-digit leads going into the fourth quarter and could not hold on to them. So what do the Wolves need to learn about finishing games that you guys seemingly maybe have figured out a little bit? What did you observe in that regard?
I think in those situations, we had just been there before. The year prior, we were an 8 seed playing in a tough series with Utah. We lost a couple close games that we felt like we really had control of, or we had a good chance of winning. Sure. And I think that really helped us last year in the playoffs, especially that Minnesota series. Just having been there before, knowing it's a long game. You got to play the full 48 minutes, and we always feel like we have a chance. We never feel like we're out and you can't count us out. And a couple of those games were prime examples of that. And I just think it's just an experience thing, especially at that level. The playoff games are just extremely different than the regular season, and you just need experience to continue to grow.
How eye-opening from your perspective now as an NBA player was the big trade that the Wolves made in the offseason? Shock you, surprise you? What did you think of it?
I think it was. I think they're in a position right now. They're ready to take another step forward, and so the trade was to try to help do that and try to really compete for a championship. When you bring in a guy like Gobert, who's won multiple Defensive Player of the Year awards, they felt like that's helping them improve in an area where they needed help. And so it's not surprising, just because they're in win-now mode. They're ready to try to continue to take another step forward and try to compete for a championship. And with how tough the West is, especially going into this year, you got to do that because every team is trying to improve right now.
What are your impressions of Gobert? Because the reaction around the league was, from a lot of media members, was, really good defensive player, but he's a guy that in the postseason, sometimes via matchups, you can kind of render a little bit irrelevant. So the question has come up, okay, well, can it work? Can he be a big factor in the postseason? What are your impressions of him in terms of what he can bring?
He's a defensive anchor. He disrupts a lot of teams on defense, protecting the rim with the shot blocking, and so he makes it easier for their guards to get out and pressure the ball and things like that. And then as far as playoff goes, each series is always about matchups, and it's always about schemes, and it's a chess match. So it'll just be interesting, and to see it'll all be about coaching how they decide to scheme that up. Between him and Cat playing at the same time, always keeping one of them on the court, things of that nature. So. But that's what playoff basketball is about. It's a game-to-game thing. Series are long, and so it'll be interesting to see. I
want to get your impressions about a couple of other Wolves players, and then we'll talk a little bit about just growing up here and the way that I want to get your observations on how Minnesota basketball on the local level, high school level, youth level has emerged the last couple of decades compared to when I got here in '86, where it feels like it was very different. Patrick Beverley. Now, he's gone, obviously. He's not with the Wolves anymore. How much is he annoying? I mean, when you play against, is he annoying as he seems to be, or are you able to just sort of shut all that down? How do you play off of him?
Me personally, it doesn't really affect me or bother me. But Pat Bev's one of those guys you want on your team and you don't want on the opposing team.
Right.
He's the classic. He's that guy.
Yep.
So, but he's just the heart and kind of engine of every team. Wherever he goes, and that's just kind of what he hangs his hat on, and how he's been in the league so long is how hard he plays on a nightly basis, how he communicates, things of that nature. So, yeah.
So, it doesn't strike me that you've ever been one who can be baited or rarely baited on the court, and because your demeanor is such that it's pretty cool. Why is that? Have you always had that as part of your personality? Is that something you learned? Is that something you developed, or just something that's always been a part of you?
I'd say a little bit of everything. It's been something that I think I've kind of always had, and then something I've also learned to kind of use and hone in on the older I've gotten, and the more I've tried to master being a point guard and continue to try to improve and being a leader and you know, all those types of things. So it's something that, you know, I also pride myself on is always, you know, keeping my composure, being that calm and influence on the court, because a lot of the times, you know, your teammates are looking at you as a point guard. So, yeah, that's something I definitely pride myself on.
Tyus Jones is our guest in the Fan. This offseason, you know how off seasons are in the NBA. When there are emerging, they're young players, people sort of watch. Was he ready to take the next step? How hard is he working? What is he working on? And somebody, who was it? Just another veteran player whose name now escapes me.
Andre Iguodala.
Oh, it was Iguodala.
Yeah,
just
with Dwayne
basically on a podcast with Dwayne Wade, basically said, I think the quote was, all Anthony Edwards needs is 2 months, 2 Miami months, which I guess by that he meant in the Miami Heat culture, basketball culture. And he basically said, then shut her down. He doesn't think that the guy has any limits. What do you see in him? If he applies himself and works and you know, continues to not just rest on obviously a lot of talent, how good do you think he can be on the basis of your own observation?
Yeah, I think the sky's the limit for him. He's got, everything. He checks all the boxes off. I think for me this year, a big thing that I saw out of him was him playing, you know, sitting down on defense, you know, and really accepting some of those challenges on a nightly basis of really locking in on, it could be the other team's best player or, you know, just being more consistent on that end of the floor. But yeah, he's got all the tools in his game to, you know, to be one of the best players in the league for sure.
I mentioned how much things have changed here, where this is now considered a place with some really good amateur talent, young talent. And I can recall moving here in '86, and there were a few, but it just didn't seem like there was anywhere near the same level of, it wasn't as if there were no good players. There weren't as many. It just didn't seem like there was many. And now it's completely, basically the transition has been pretty dramatic. What do you see in terms of the amount, even since you've been alive and since you started playing basketball and now stayed with it and continued to work with AAU teams back here, what do you observe?
I just see, you know, basketball continuing to grow in Minnesota. And for me, like coming up, I always felt like Minnesota was slept on as like a basketball state or producing basketball players. But over the years, you know, we're putting out a lot of pros. We're putting a lot of guys in the NBA. We're putting, you know, a lot of guys are going high-level Division I guys. So I just think as a whole, the state's talent level, you know, basketball-wise, is just continuing to grow. And I think people across the country have noticed that as well. And that's, you know, something that puts a smile on my face, and that's something that also motivates me, you know, with my AAU program, and continue to give back to the kids and continue to try to, you know, push that forward.
Tell us a little bit more about the program.
Started the program, let's see, probably 6-7 years ago, and it was just 5th through 8th grade. We're starting to expand up into high school now. But yeah, it's just, I've always wanted to be able to give back, you know, and focus on player development and teaching the game, teaching the kids how to play the game the right way. It's not always just about, you know, rolling the ball out and just playing basketball, but, you know, working on your skills, learning how to play team ball, things of that nature, culture. So, you know, my AAU program is something that I enjoy being involved in and being around, especially in the off season, you know, when AAU is up and rolling. And so I look forward to continuing to build that and continue to, you know, help kids continue to grow and help their future.
How much of a challenge, you know, the late great Flip Saunders, who you knew well, he got himself in trouble on our show a couple of times because he tended to be at times critical of the AAU model because he thought in many cases, not all, but in many cases, it sort of nurtured the wrong things, more individualistic play, because everybody's trying to get noticed, and that was a point of frustration for him. Do you agree with that? Is that something you challenge yourself to try to, within your the limitations of what you can do, to try to nurture the concepts you're talking about as opposed to just being about the individual player?
For sure, 100%. I think that's kind of the reputation of AAU ball, and that's something that we're trying to change, and we want our AAU program to not kind of have that reputation. That's what we're trying to separate ourselves from all these other programs, is that we teach the game. We focus on different things that AAU ball usually doesn't focus on. And we're trying to make a difference in all these kids' lives in terms of teaching them the game, helping them improve as a player. Come the end of the summer, we want them to look where they're at, look at themselves in the mirror and say, I learned a lot this summer and I improved a lot, and I'm looking forward to next summer.
Is it a challenge? Is it a battle when elsewhere maybe there are different messages being conveyed?
It is, but you try to just hone in on what you can do and focus on yourselves, and we just try to we know what we're teaching and what we're locked in on as far as the kids will benefit them, and so we know that we'll be able to take care of them.
Guardsy, I think, reminded me that, did you just have a second child?
About to.
I'm about to in February.
About to. Okay, that's what it is. So, well, you already got one, and another one very close.
Yes.
How does that change? You can't ever be. I don't think anybody can be quite as self-centered once they start having kids. How has that changed you?
It's changed. It's changed my whole life. I mean, everything is revolving around our son, and about to have a daughter in February, and so. But kids, they change your life for the better. I've, never had, an accomplishment as great as bringing my son, into the world, and I take the most pride in being his father, and I love nothing more, than being a dad. And so it's the happiest thing in the world for me, and I really enjoy it, and it's a feeling you can't really put into words until you're living it.
Well, congratulations on the first, and soon on the second one. I hope all that goes well as well. Last question for you: how often do you talk to Coach K?
I keep in touch with him every so often, whether it's through text, whether it's shooting him a call. He'll text me after some of my games. Things like that, just keeping in contact. He does a great job of that when he's an extremely busy man, but that just shows the type of guy he is. But we still have a great relationship, still keep in contact, and that'll never change.
What would you say, looking back on your time there, what do you think is the most valuable thing you learned from him?
He taught me so much off the court, just about being a man, being a leader. He's the best leader I've ever been around. Just what he expects from his guys every day, the respect that he demands, and the respect that he's given, because you see how smart he is, you see how intelligent he is, you see he makes you want to believe in whatever message he's giving you or giving your team, and so he taught me so many things just about being a leader, just being able to lead a team. Things that you can apply to not only basketball but to life as well. And so, it's definitely. I was only there a year, but
it's enough, right?
Learned so many things that I can't even begin to thank him for.
Pleasure to chat with you.
Appreciate
and
you
I
guys
appreciate you
me.
taking the time to come and see us. Tyus Jones, ladies and gentlemen,
You guys having
he's
me.
one of us. So when the Grizzlies show up next year, don't boo him. I mean, you don't have to cheer him, maybe, but don't boo him. It's not his fault.
It's definitely
He's just
not.
trying to,
Not my fault at
right?
all.
Yeah, that's
Not my
it.
fault at all.
And he kept
You
Wisconsin
probably
from winning the national
you did.
championship. We always have to remember that. As sad as that is for us, we always have to remember he,
That's
along
a
with
big-
Grayson Allen. What did Coach
Well-
K say in that timeout, by the way? Kaminsky gets the layup, you're down
Well, can
9.
he repeat it?
Well, you could clean it up.
That's the
but
question.
you call
That's-
timeout in the second half, you're down 9, everybody's going, what's going on here? Is Wisconsin going to do it? Do you remember?
He was actually trying to keep us calm. He was trying to keep us calm just because obviously your natural reaction is like,
Crap.
Is it slipping away from us?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he was trying to keep us calm, and he was just reminding us, like, he always is instilling confidence in you. That's something that I think people don't realize is you see he has his fiery moments and he's passionate, but, like, he's always instilling confidence. And he was doing that all year. So in those moments come the end of the year where all the pressure's on you, you're as confident as you've ever been, not only in yourself but in the guy next to you, in him. You know what I mean? So we were all just locked in. And we knew we had to, turn it around, obviously, or we were going to lose the biggest game of the season. But, things just started rolling for us, and we were able to turn it around. But it definitely starts with his voice.
Well, that SI cover anywhere?
I do.
That's good. That's a good
Yeah,
SI cover. I mean, that's a
Well,
good
that's
SI
it. You know,
cover.
people always get in this. It's a very provincial town, so people get very like, you know, you didn't go to the University of Minnesota. You had the audacity to go to Duke, but your comeback could be what Guardsy said. At least I prevented Wisconsin.
Yeah, you're my guy
a
forever
Big
for
Ten,
that,
our number
yeah.
one Big Ten rival,
Yeah,
from
Grayson
getting
Allen,
in there.
all of it.
So you got to at least throw that into the
sure.
equation for sure. And if it was up to you, I'm sure you never would have left, right? I mean, that's the thing. But things happen, right?
Things do happen.
But
Things do
you're in
happen.
a great spot.
Yep.
You're on a really good team with a chance to make another step, I'm sure. And it's as I said, it's fun to chat with you. Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, appreciate you guys.
Tyus Jones, ladies and gentlemen. We'll come back. Don't forget Johnny Athletic at the top of the hour. He's a big Tyus Jones fan, I might add. He will join then. Don't go away.
Every bank wants you to open an account.
Sign up.
Then along come sneaky fees. Sneaky, sneaky, sneaky. Exactly why you should compare your bank to Bell Bank. At Bell, we don't nickel and dime you with fees on things like checking accounts and ATMs. If you hate sneaky fees, switch to a bank you'll love and give sneaky fees the boot. Bell Bank.
Your engine and your wallet. Learn more at betterfuel.org.
Guys, did you know erectile dysfunction